Oosouji 2025, the Japanese reset. I turned 58 this year, and I finally had to face a hard truth I've been running from for years. The truth is, this house, it was quietly stealing my peace. We tell ourselves little lies, don't we? We say, it's not clutter, it's memories. The boxes of the kids' old toys collecting dust in the attic. My late husband's shirts I just couldn't bear to part with. That expensive china sitting untouched in the cabinet. We think of them as assets, as treasures. But let's be real, they weigh more than any piece of furniture in this room. I used to think holding on was an act of love. But in reality, I was just curating a museum of old grief. And then everything shifted when I discovered Oosouji. Just one single afternoon of practicing this art of letting go, and I slept better than I have in a decade. It wasn't just physical relief, it was a total soul detox. Now don't get this twisted. Do not confuse Oosouji with your typical American spring cleaning. There's a reason Vogue and Homes and Gardens are calling this the alternative therapy of 2025 for our generation. Why? Because Oosouji doesn't start with a broom. It starts with your mind. It's about sweeping away the anxiety to invite the Kami, the gods of good fortune, into your life. If you're sitting there right now, maybe you're over 50 and you are just tired of dragging yesterday's heavy baggage into your tomorrow. Then you need to hear this. For the next 15 days, I'm not going to teach you how to scrub a floor. I'm inviting you on a healing journey. We aren't using harsh chemicals here. We're using gratitude. We aren't going to break our backs. We're going to soothe them. This is the Oosouji 2025 challenge. And this right here, this is the kindest thing you will do for yourself all year. Are you ready to finally feel lighter? Let's begin. What Oosouji actually is, beyond the TikTok version. Let's get real for a second. I know what you've seen on your feed. We've all watched those viral videos of 15-second time-lapse where a disaster zone turns into a magazine cover with a snap of a finger. Look, that is entertainment. But Oosouji is stillness. Now, strictly speaking, Oosouji translates to the big cleaning, but its roots go way deeper, back to an ancient ritual called suffocated, which literally means dusting off the soot or spiritually sweeping. Here is the fundamental difference. When we do our typical cleaning, we treat dirt like the enemy. We scrub, we attack, we frown at the stains. We clean because we're afraid of judgment, or because the mess is driving us crazy. But in Oosouji, the dirt isn't the enemy. The dirt is just proof of life. Let me give you a real-life example. Picture your kitchen sink right now. The old way, it sounds like this in your head. Ugh, it's greasy again. I hate this chore. Let's just power through so I can sit down. You feel that tension? That negative energy soaked right into your walls. The Oosouji way, as you wipe that sink, you shift your mindset to this. Thank you for handling the water that washed our food. Thank you for feeding my family all year. Do you feel that shift? The physical motion is exactly the same, but the intention is worlds apart. One is a heavy obligation. The other is an act of deep gratitude. So, here's the takeaway. Your home is a living thing. It protects you when you sleep. It holds space for you when you cry and when you celebrate. Oosouji is simply your chance to say, thank you, and maybe, I'm sorry for ignoring you. Now, I can hear you thinking, that sounds beautiful, but I'm looking at a mountain of clutter. Where do I even start? Well, here's the good news. We aren't going to start with the hard stuff. We are going to start with something much easier. Why Oosouji is exploding among Americans over 50 in 2025. Have you stopped to ask yourself why? It's 2025. We have robots to vacuum floors and AI to run our schedules. So why are millions of Americans our age suddenly picking up straw brooms and rags? The answer is simple. We are overwhelmed. Look, we are the generation raised on the gospel of more is better. We spent our 30s and 40s grinding, chasing the bigger house, the bigger car, filling every empty corner with stuff. We called it success. But now, we've crossed the 50-yard line. The kids have moved out. The house is quiet. And we're looking around at all this stuff, realizing a hard truth. We don't own our possessions. Our possessions
There is something
own
I
us.
must tell you.
Oosouji is
Long
exploding
ago, I
right
made a
now
mistake that I
because it is the
deeply regret.
antidote to the suffocating
I am so very
excess of this
sorry.
digital age. Let me give you a real-life example. My friend Linda, out in the Chicago suburbs, she had a basement absolutely packed with just-in-case items. Last Christmas, she spent 3 days fighting that clutter just to host a party, and she was so exhausted she literally got sick on Christmas Eve. This year, she tried Oosouji. She didn't clean for the guests. She cleaned for herself. She donated 70% of what was in that basement. And you know what she told me? She said, "For the first time in 20 years, I can hear my own footsteps in that room. It's not a storage unit anymore. It's room to breathe. That is the secret sauce at this stage of life. We aren't hungry for more accumulation. We are starving for relief. Here's a lesson. Life has two halves. The first half is about addition.
They are essential
The second
for our way
half,
of life.
it's about subtraction. Oosouji is the art of subtracting the noise so you can finally hear yourself think. So, now that you understand the why, the big question is how? What do we need to gear up for this gentle revolution? Don't worry. Put your car keys away. You won't need to run to the store for this. My biggest decluttering mistakes in my 50s, so you don't repeat them. Before we lift a single finger, I need to make confession. Before I found Oosouji, I was doing this all wrong. I was turning cleaning into a punishment instead of a healing ritual. My single biggest mistake? I call it the weekend warrior syndrome. I used to trick myself into thinking I was still 25. I'd wake up on a Saturday, down 3 cups of black coffee, and swear I was going to purge the entire house from the attic to the basement in one go. The result? By 4 p.m., my back was screaming. I was sitting on the floor surrounded by a mess that was somehow worse than when I started, and honestly, I was ready to cry from pure exhaustion. Mistake number 2, the plastic bin trap. Whenever I felt the urge to organize, my first move was to drive to the store and buy a cart full of those fancy storage containers. I thought if I just put the junk inside a box, the problem was solved. Wrong. Let me give you a real-life example. Last summer, I dropped $200 on beautiful, matching plastic bins. I spent all day carefully folding old junk stuff I hadn't used in years, placing into bins, labeling them, and stacking them on a shelf. I thought I was decluttering. I wasn't. I was just playing hide and seek with my garbage. I was organizing my clutter, not eliminating it. Here is the hard-earned lesson. You cannot organize excess. You can only remove it. Do not buy a single storage bin until you know what you actually have left to store. And please, at our age, slow down. 15 focused minutes a day is infinitely better than a 15-hour marathon that leaves you better than for a week. So, if we aren't using brute force and we aren't relying on expensive trips to the container store, what do we need? The answer is going to shock you with how simple it is. Let's look at your Oosouji toolkit. The 4 sacred rules of my 2025 Oosouji challenge. To get through these next 15 days without burning out or quitting, I established 4 golden rules. I call them sacred, not because I'm superstitious, but because if you break them, you slide right back into the old habits that got you overwhelmed in the first place. Rule 1, the timer is God. Do not, I repeat, do not go over 30 minutes at a time. Listen, at our age, Enthusiasm usually writes checks our backs can't cash. Set a timer. When that alarm dings, you stop. Even if you're in the middle of a drawer, drop it. We pick it up tomorrow. We are running a marathon here, not a sprint. Rule 2, the touch it once policy. This is the biggest trap we fall into. The shuffle. You pick something up, look at it, sigh, and move it to a different pile to decide later. No, we are not doing that. The rule is, once your hand touches an item, you must make a verdict right then and there. Keep, donate, trash. There is no maybe pile in Oosouji. The maybe pile is where clarity goes to die. Rule 3, the gratitude exit. If you decide to let go of an old sweater, don't just stuff it in a trash bag with resentment. Whisper quick, thank you for keeping me warm. Here is a real-life example. I teared up when I got rid of our old beat-up sofa. But when I touched the fabric and said, thank you for being the place where my kids watched movies for 10 years, the guilt vanished. It was replaced by appreciation. That is how Oosouji heals you. Rule 4, no self-judgment. You're going to find things that make you cringe. That knitting project you abandoned 5 years ago. That diet book you never opened.
Close your eyes now.
Do not beat yourself
and
up.
let your heart
Do not call
guide
yourself
you
lazy.
home.
Forgive your past self and gently let the item go. Here's the lesson. Discipline in Oosouji isn't about punishment. It's about protection. These rules are guardrails designed to protect your energy and your peace of mind. So, the rules are set. The mindset is locked in. We are missing just one final piece of the puzzle before we start. And no, it's not an expensive vacuum cleaner. Let's take a look at my minimalist Oosouji toolkit. Day 1 gentle action step. The gratitude and release ritual. Welcome to day 1. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Listen, today I am not asking you to pick up a broom or a mop. Today, we are just going to warm up our letting go muscles. Your assignment for the next 24 hours is incredibly simple. Find exactly one item to release. Just one. That's it. Maybe it's that chipped coffee mug you keep pushing to the back of the cupboard. A pair of socks with holes in the toes, or a stack of magazines from 2015 gathering dust. Don't pick something sentimental or difficult. Start with the easy stuff, the obvious clutter. And here is how we perform the Oosouji ritual for first time. Hold that item in both hands. Don't just toss it in the trash yet. Look at it, pause, and say out loud or in your heart, thank you for serving me. Your job here is done. Goodbye. I know. It sounds a little woo-woo, right? But stay with me. Let me give you a real-life example. This morning, I finally dealt with a jar of expensive face cream that expired 3 years ago. It's been sitting in my bathroom drawer, mocking me. The old me would have looked at it and thought, I can't believe I wasted that money. I'm so irresponsible. But today, I held it and said, thank you. Thank you for teaching me to buy less and to value what I have. The moment that jar hit the trash can, I didn't feel the sting of wasted money anymore. I felt lighter. I had forgiven myself for the waste. Here's the lesson. Clutter takes up space in your home, but guilt takes up space in your heart. When you release an item with gratitude, you're clearing out both spaces at the same time. So, that is your homework. Find one thing. Thank it. Let it go. Get a good night's sleep. Because tomorrow we start for real with the most important area of the house, the place the Japanese call the face of the home. Trust me, you don't want to miss day 2. The donation pile. Reveal plus emotional reflection. Okay, everyone, take a look at this. I'm going to be honest with you. Looking at this pile right now, my first reaction isn't just, hooray, I'm organized. It's actually a little painful. Does anyone else feel that? We look at these bags and we see hard-earned money. We see memories. We see pieces of who we used to be, sitting there in plastic bags. Let me show you something. Holds up an old corporate blazer or a pair of uncomfortable high heels. See these heels? I wore these to a job interview when I was 40. I kept them for nearly 2 decades because I thought they represented my success. But let's get real. Every time I open my closet and see them, I don't feel successful. I remember the stress, the blisters, the grind. I was holding on to them because I was afraid of erasing my history. But Oosouji taught me something powerful. I don't need these shoes to prove I worked hard. That hard work is already built into who I am today. When I tie up this bag, I am not throwing away my past. I am paying it forward. I am giving these shoes a second life with a young woman who might need them for her big break. Here's the lesson, and I want you to really hear this. Decluttering is not loss. It is circulation. Stuff that sits stagnant in your closet is dead energy. When you donate it, you transform it back into living energy for someone else. And that empty space left on your shelf, that is simply room for new joy to enter. So that is a wrap on day one. We started, we let go, and most importantly, we lightened the load. Now go get some rest. You earned it, because tomorrow we tackle the gateway of the soul, the most critical spot for inviting luck into your home. Tomorrow's teaser plus gentle invitation. Before we say goodbye for today, I want you to close your eyes for just 1 second. Visualize this. You had a long, hard day. You put your key in the lock, turn it, and push the door open. What greets you? Is an obstacle course of sneakers you have to step over? Is it a pile of junk mail and keys cluttering up the table? Or is it a breath of fresh air? Is it a space that feels open and calm, almost like your home is giving you a big hug and saying, welcome back? Tomorrow on day 2, we are tackling the single most critical area in Japanese philosophy, the jenkin, the entryway. There's a saying in Japan that luck cannot squeeze through a cluttered door. If your entrance is blocked, your blessings are blocked too. Here's a little thought to sleep on. Your entryway isn't just a place to park your boots. It sets the tone for your entire life inside these walls. So, if you felt a little lighter releasing just one thing today, imagine how you're going to feel when we clear the path of good fortune tomorrow. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Trust me, you do not want to miss the transformation we are going to make. I'll see you tomorrow. Sleep well and dream of a lighter home.